So I will go ahead and call this meeting to order. Especially since we have one new commissioner with us and our new intern. I'd like us to take a few extra seconds during our introductions. I'll start. I'm Sam Armstrong. I'm the chair of the commission. I joined about a year and a half ago. I'm finishing up my undergrad at IU, studying environmental and sustainability studies and getting a certificate in GIS or remote sensing. And I'll pass it to what?
My name is Matt Caldy. I'm vice chair, been a commissioner for, I guess, 5 years now, and I haven't missed a meeting.
I'm doing the same thing and also economics. And yeah, I've been here 6 months. So.
What did you say your name was?
Luke.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah,
You know, Luke. Sorry.
I'm Mike Whitman, Commissioner. I'm retired from the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service.
I'm Megan Murphy. I've been a commissioner for, I think, just under a year now. And I teach at IU in biology. My big classes are research methods and entomology.
My name is Connor Wright. I'm a sophomore at IU, studying business and political science, and I'm the new commissioner here.
Welcome.
David Parker, Commissioner this time around, about the last 5 or 6 years. Before that, 14 years, started in 1974. And I taught in public environmental affairs, the environmental science department for about 30-some years. But I retired in 06. And now if I fill out a form that says, who's your employer, I put my garden.
I'm Alana. I'm a first-year MPA graduate, and that's Kia. And I studied ESS, environmental sustainability studies from the undergrad at IU as well.
Welcome.
I'm Linda Thompson, the senior environmental planner and the liaison for the PC. And I'm David Whitney. I'm a retired English professor from Franklin College, where I also taught environmental studies. And I'm also a member of the tree commission. Or actually, I guess it used to be. Well, I'll tell you more about it though. Okay.
Thank you, everybody, for your introduction. Our next item is the approval of July minutes. I will entertain the motion to approve them.
Second.
Great.
Hey.
Welcome.
Scott, there's a seat there where you can pull it up.
Yeah.
And right there. Scott, would you like to give a quick introduction since we have 2 new people here?
Yeah, of course. I'm Scott Shackelford. I'm a professor at IU, where I direct the ocean workshop. And these days also the Center for Applied Cybersecurity Research. And I used to teach sustainability, which was fun, but now I only teach cybersecurity. But that's why I do this. So.
Where's the Indian Ocean?
The Indiana Ocean, is that what you said?
Yeah.
Oh, well, we have a little lake access.
Well, thank you, Scott.
For sure.
We just had a second on a motion to approve the July minutes. So we're going to start voting on that. And we'll start.
If I could say, would you please say your name again, because Alana doesn't really know you all.
Yes.
Matt Caldy, I vote yes.
Luke Swain, yes. Mike Whitman, yes.
Megan Murphy, yes.
Scott Shackelford, yes.
Connor Wright, yes.
David Parker, yes.
Daniel Whitney, yes.
I also vote yes. Sam Armstrong. Unanimous pass. So we have the next item as the public comment period. Do we have anybody on Zoom from the public? As far as you can tell.
We have some people on Zoom, but I'm not seeing a raised hand.
Okay, maybe just spectators. We'll give them 5 more seconds or so to see if they raise their
Yeah,
hand.
if you want to make a comment out in Zoom land, please raise your hand.
Okay, I think we're safe on that one.
This time I'd like to make a motion to
change the agenda slightly. We like to move that we move reports to after old and new business.
There, reason?
If to use our energy on old and new business and sum up reports at the end.
Second that,
Great, well, we have a second for that, we can begin voting on that, we'll start to my left again with Matt.
Well, is there no discussion?
Oh, sorry, my bad,
Well-
yeah,
Let's like to
Well,
discuss.
yeah,
it strikes me that this is a good idea,
yeah,
and maybe we could amend the motion to make it a permanent change.
I thought too.
Yeah.
okay.
So.
Yeah, sorry for skipping based on that one, if anybody has anything else to add to that, that'd be great.
The idea is somewhat stolen from Carrie, who's not present here, but I also like the idea that long-term, thought we should definitely try it at least once. Thought I'd make a motion today and see how it goes.
Oh, thanks. So is that a yes to accept the amendment or? No?
I was waiting on any further discussion, but I would accept the amendment.
Maybe it would be good to try it once.
Oh,
Maybe we can make it permanent next time.
oh,
So, yeah, we can try it this time, see if it goes well, and then next meeting, someone could bring up that as an item again, and then maybe we go on it as a permanent
Sounds
standard,
great.
so. Anybody else for discussion? Last call, okay, then we can start voting.
Let's vote it. Matt Caldy, I vote yes.
Mike Whitman, yes.
Megan Murphy, yes.
All right, yes.
David Parker, yes.
the Dana, yes.
Sam Armstrong, yes. Okay, so reports are reserved for item 7 now, so we will begin with old business. The first item for that is an update from ECPC, the land planning working group. Different letters, but I was not at that meeting, but I know some of the people were here, so anybody would like to volunteer?
I will. The ECPC stands for Environmental Commission Planning Committee. We review the new development plans, new developments in the city. It's a permanent committee from DC. We had a meeting on, what was it, August 24th? And yeah, and Dania sent around draft of minutes from that meeting. She just sent it to the ECPC. I guess we could send it to the whole commission. If everybody's interested. And then after that, I put together a list of recommendations that we are going to give to Robinson, the planning department director, to incorporate into the city zoning ordinance, which is called the UDO, the Unified Development Ordinance, to reduce the need for our input into a lot of the development projects, the ones that are more routine and urban. The reason we're doing that is for all the new people is because Linda originally reviewed all the new development plans, provided us all the information to the ECPC and to the commission, and then we made provided a memo with our recommendations to the plan commission based on Linda's review. Linda no longer does that. So that's why we drew up this list of recommendations to put in the UDO. And I've drafted the list. I wanted Linda to see it first because there's a lot of uncertainties in it. And as soon as I get it back from her, I'll send it around to the entire ECPC. I guess the question would be, do we want just the ECPC to finalize this, or do we want the whole commission to look at it?
What if, or may I?
Any thoughts?
So I was thinking it could be good information for the rest of the EC members to see maybe what ECPC decides to vote on it, ratify it, and that might be a really good direction for the rest of the EC.
So we choose to have to say, let the entire commission vote, comment on it, or just to let them see what we.
But we're talking about Mike's draft.
Yeah, Mike's
We want
draft.
him just circulate the draft to the whole council and commission, or you just?
I think it would be good for everybody to at least be able to take a look at it, and then you guys can decide.
No, I've got a number of comments.
Yeah, of course, after Linda gives her expertise to it.
Well, this list was based to a large extent on a list that Linda had put together earlier, but that was 8 months ago, and so some of them are no longer appropriate, and that's what we need to find out. So I will send that around to everybody when I get it back. And we do have a deadline. I don't know what it is. We're supposed to check on that. I guess we need to send an email to Scott to find out what the latest is that we can submit these to get it into the UDO amendments, which will happen early next year. So I'll follow up on that too.
I can ask Scott.
Okay, and one more item. In addition to this list, we're requesting that any new development projects that have environmental issues, then that we still be allowed to review them individually and possibly do a site inspection if necessary. That's it.
I would like to add, especially for new and newer members, the ECPC is one of our most valuable and effective working groups in the Environmental Commission. It's one way that we can have some really important effects on city developments or developments within the city, especially in perpetuity if we are able to get this stuff added to the UDO. And so let me know if there's anything I can do as the chair to help us go along or anything. So thank you guys for all of that as well. Is there anything else you'd like to add about the ECPC from anybody?
Did they move?
No, that was good.
Any questions? Okay, thank you, Mike. Next item is update regarding the website work. Matt and Carrie and I met like a month and a half ago at this point.
Sometime between the July meeting and now.
Yeah, so we met briefly about the website. Just to sum it up pretty quickly, we were thinking of taking all of the reports and natural landscaping information and seeing if we can add it to the meeting and documents tab at the top, just to sort of simplify the appearance of our main page. And that kind of led us into our discussion of looking at our reports, like the environmental justice statement, the habitat connectivity plan, the Bloomington environmental action plan, and the green space trends report, and seeing if in the near future we would like to revisit those and perhaps update them and release an updated report. So that is something we will be talking about in new business. So I will wait on that one. And then anything else from you, Matt, about the website?
Well, we mostly discussed kind of organizational notes, different way we might want to kind of lay out the website, what's available there on the main page, and then what would be in any of the different tabs or links, if you will. It was kind of early. We'll probably meet on it at least once more before having like a solid plan, I would say. But it's a good meeting.
Yeah, then we'll send that information on to you from the, and then see what you think, obviously.
Okay.
So, that is it for the website. Our next one is an update from Air Quality Working Group. Matt, would you like to do that one?
Yeah, don't have much to report on that. We met again, I can't remember exactly when, but sometime between the July meeting and today. It was a relatively short meeting where we mostly talked about these air quality monitors that are present at our table today. And how many of us were skeptical of their usefulness. I, in particular, don't feel like it is a useful tool for meaningful air quality measurements around Bloomington, and I think that it would be great if the city could improve their monitoring, but we're not expecting to have enough sway or finances to influence that. So, as a working group, we were going to wait a little while, talk again later. We were talking about long-term plans, possible air quality report next year. Keep you posted when we meet again.
I'd like to add something to that a little bit. One thing that Alana's been working on, just for like a day so far, is just looking into researching if any other cities are doing anything like this. And, you know, not big cities that we wouldn't be able to compete with, but other small towns that might be doing something. Because I've asked her to think about, you know, what our plan would be, you know, as we move forward with something or another or nothing. So just to let you know, she's kind of working on that. So if you have a thought at all, send it her way.
Well, yeah, I thought is, since we're a university town, how about looking into university towns that are about the same size?
Yes.
Maybe Ames, Iowa, or
Right, yeah, we talked about that.
since researchers are at universities, it's probably more likely that university towns would be doing this than
Right,
others.
agreed.
So that information can be, like, pretty much all that information could go into a chapter of our report about what comparable cities are doing to help
Yes.
justify, you know, Bloomington maybe doing some more air quality testing and stuff
Right.
like that.
And, you know, one thing I mentioned to her was we might find out that these monitors do nothing for us, but we're gonna give it a try.
For sure. Well, that's good, important, yeah.
And just for the record, this, I'm looking at what this takes a measurement every minute. And I'm looking at what it says, and it keeps jumping between high and very high. And
On hot air, right?
there you go. Well, I'm not sure what that was about. And a while back, when I first started, it said moderate, but then a lot of people came in.
Can you specify the pollutant or what, what's it reading?
It's reading 6 things, PM1, PM2.5. What are those? PM10, 3 different sizes of particles. NO2 and volatile organic compound VOC. And
We don't put out any of those, do we?
That's what mine is suggesting is the highest right now. So it's been a lot steadier than Dave's, and it still believes moderate, you know, continued exposure, maybe if we have a chronic issue would affect us, but it's not too concerned right now.
what's your NO2 number?
It's very low. 0.
No, it was 94. I mean, I had proposed to everybody who had one, to use like you, to bring theirs. and-
I know, my apologies for that.
We should be comparing all 5 of them, but you know, 5 people that actually haven't.
And Luke, you had volunteered. You
Yeah.
know what?
Yeah, I mean, if there's just an aspect of that.
Check it out.
You know, we definitely want your.
Anybody else wants to?
There's an app for it and everything, so,
Thank you.
I'm also going to be turning mine in after the meeting today, so someone
Right.
else can check it out.
so like Matt was saying.
Volunteers?
And yeah, anybody take one. So like Matt was saying, I'll just reiterate this. The reason why we're really trying to get some data, however good or not it is from these things, is it's just one step in our long game of perhaps obtaining something more robust in the future. So we have to display that or demonstrate that these might not be up to par for what we're trying to collect the type of data.
As I proposed at one point, we really, at some meeting, want to talk about how we should be using these things. And we haven't really talked about that at all, so.
Well, maybe it's time to set up another air quality meeting that Alana can attend.
But maybe they just aren't useful at all, so.
Well, let's not give up yet.
Matt, would you want to be in charge of, setting up a meeting?
Yeah, we can put out like a when to meet or something for,
Okay,
sometime between today and next month's meeting.
cool. Thank you. Does anybody else have anything to add about air quality working group? Hi, Gary.
Carrie.
So Carrie, we, if you have an agenda or not, we just finished old business and we voted to move reports till after new business. And then, not to put you on the spot, but would you like to give an introduction? Because we have a few new people here.
Yeah, for sure. Hi, I'm Carrie Albright. I just rejoined the commission a few months ago, maybe like 3 or 4 months ago, after having not been on it for 10 years. So I know that's why apparently. But I currently work for the North American Association for Environmental Education. They're out of DC, so it's remotely, but do a lot of really cool stuff with them. And yeah, since I'm new, I've got a lot of energy, so you're probably going to be talking excited about a lot of stuff. But oh, I think I'm all right.
Thank you, Gary.
That's what.
Okay, so that is it for old business. We now are in new business. Our first item is a discussion of the stormwater infrastructure improvements based on last year's flood in Bloomington. Linda, you received some information from utilities.
Yes, and I passed that on to everyone. And based on the information that I sent you, I didn't really know what other kind of questions you had, so I want to, discuss that this evening. I mean, I don't actually know the point. What do you want to do?
So what we're doing is seeing if we can determine whether or not the city's stormwater improvements will suffice. If there will be future storms similar to last year's.
You mean when?
When? No, I mean, like with the city's improvements that they're doing now. So anytime in the future, if we get another storm like we did last year. So
It will happen.
exactly. So from there, we can see if prescribing things like green infrastructure will help with the flooding issues in Bloomington and take some burden off the stormwater infrastructure.
Right.
So
And
under
that's,
the purview of our environmental.
Sure, it absolutely is. And that's the kind of stuff that Phil Peden talked about, because I asked him, what I basically said in the email was that, the EC was interested in this, but we really needed to know what the city was doing before we make any kind of recommendations. And the stormwater plan is one thing, the big dig, the new culvert downtown, they're putting green infrastructure in all over the place. So if you read that email, I just wondered what more where to go from here.
We should definitely emphasize green infrastructure as opposed to storm sewers, whether we can. I
Right.
don't know if it's worth sending them a letter for that.
Yeah,
I mean, Chrissy's already aware of it.
I would say from looking at the stormwater plan that you sent out, like that's the
That's easy.
reason that they have had all the experts do the work. But they did in there identify a problem that they didn't know what green infrastructure they wanted to invest, and that could be where we advise, right? It's here are some of the best tools in green infrastructure. And
absolutely.
focus there instead of trying to do everything.
Right, and I know they're creating an inventory of all the detention basins in town and things of that nature. So they're doing some modeling right now from before that storm, not before the storm, before the new culvert and after the culvert gets finished and things of that nature. Another thing we could think about is in the UDO, there is a section that says if a parking lot has more than 100 parking spots, they have to have some green infrastructure. And I would certainly propose making that number way lower.
How much?
It's
100?
mhm.
Yeah,
I
Yeah, I
mean, to
mean-
me, almost any parking lot should have it.
well, the impervious surfaces in Bloomington and on campus are one of the major factors contributing to surface water.
Absolutely.
So, yeah,
Um,
100-car parking lot is massive.
right,
for
right.
that, So,
Right, so, I'm not sure how it got to be 100, how that number got in there, but, my personal opinion is it should be way lower than that.
Well, 100 is a pretty number.
So it's 10.
It's 200, we have a lot of 99 car parking.
Yeah.
so, thank you for that update, Linda. My main questions would be, how closely are the city and IU working together on this? And that is why I passed this map around. If you look at it, this is a hydrological analysis based off of last June's massive flooding that we had in town. You see that circle right there? That is where we had the flooding on Kirkwood Avenue and was up to waist or neck height. Our past chair, Andrew Gunther, he didn't live there, but somewhere else in town. His apartment got flooded along with the fire department in downtown. They're not even in that building anymore. It's a flood damage, but my point of this map is that you can see the highlighted watershed. I was bad. I should have added the outline of the boundaries of campus, but almost 2/3 to 3/4 of campus is in the watershed that feeds to the flooding in downtown. So the point that I'm trying to make is that even with what the city is doing, and even if they're including all these GI or green infrastructure components to this stormwater scheme that they're improving on, we need to see that IU is playing their part in this. And I just don't know how well IU and the city work together on issues like this.
I can't really weigh in on that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I
Yeah.
know that they did some new stuff to, Campus River.
Well, they added some riprap will actually decrease water absorption, increase water velocity. So it's exacerbating the flooding. So as pretty as it looks. So.
I don't know the answer to that
Yeah.
question.
For sure. So, but that's just something I guess I'm saying out loud is an important point. That perhaps something that eventually we could have some input on, is seeing that the city and IU maybe work together on this. I know that might not be the most realistic thing or easy thing that have happened, but I just think that is, if we're looking at it, the zoomed out big perspective, we need to just keep that on our radar.
Okay, let's see if I can find something out.
Yeah. My,
Should I reach out to Tom Morris and somebody on the staff to come into one of these meetings? He's the director of all of facilities and capital planning on campus.
What's his name again?
Tom Morrison, I mean, he's a vice president, so it would be somebody on his staff, but we could, whoever's in charge of, wastewater, for example, but that would be
Yeah.
nice. That could be a nice connection.
that would be great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Coming, at least brief us on whatever the plan is.
You know him
I know, I mean, but a little bit.
for sure. Cool. Thank you for that.
No, just an idea.
I have just 2 more points I'd like to add, or 3 more. The city released a list of all those GI improvements that they're planning to do for infrastructure. Is that something they did or just talked about vaguely?
I don't know what you're talking about.
So that report that utilities sent out about all the stormwater improvements that they'll be doing over the next few years, that 300-page report that they put out over stormwater management.
The plan, the stormwater plan?
Yeah,
Yeah, okay, and
I was just blanking and I was asking you, did they have a list of what green infrastructure improvements? they're planning to
no,
do?
there was no specific list.
Okay.
It said we need to improve them and make more and things like that.
So that's what I was asking, is if they will be putting together a definitive list for that, or that's something that maybe we could help with prescribing some.
They probably will put a list together, but I don't know anything about if
Okay,
they're starting there or not.
yeah,
I mean, I know that they're doing, you know, the stormwater grants that, and those are, it's grant money for, giving individual homeowners, some money to take to, put in some green infrastructure on their own properties, because utilities can't really do that on private property, but, through this grant program,
Yeah.
the resident, the homeowner can.
and that's been a pretty successful program. I think all that grant money was sent out last year, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, and we talked about going around and looking at all of them that have been completed to see what they look like. But that hasn't happened yet.
I think that's a really great thing the city is doing.
Mhm.
Another question I have is, that engineering firm that the city hired to do that stormwater flow modeling,
Mhm.
will that be released publicly, that modeling?
Probably,
Okay,
I mean, it'll be public information,
okay.
I would think so.
And then, yeah, maybe we could have some input on that UDO amendment for that parking spot this year. Is that next year or this year that that'll happen?
We'll need to put in the request this year. But it won't actually, by the time it goes through the planning department, then it goes through the plan commission, then it goes through the city council. And of course, it'll get stopped along the way and held up and such.
For
But
sure,
it probably won't actually get voted on until sometime next spring.
okay. So if that's something we're interested in doing, we could take a look at that. So. The actionable items from that would be contacting, Tom Morrison, is that his name?
And just send a note
Okay,
to Keith Thompson, would be assistant vice president under Tom for facilities operations and utilities. So we'll see how fast Keith runs. But yeah, I think from there we'll be able to figure out.
our next item.
Stormwater.
Stormwater, yeah.
Not wastewater, stormwater.
Our next item would be seeing if the city has more of a formal list about the green infrastructure improvements that they're planning on. And then just eventually seeing if we get our hands on that stormwater modeling and then putting together some UDO amendments if we're interested, so. Yeah, Matt drew a very vague map of campus and you just wanna. So you can see how much it is.
Almost done.
Yeah,
Oh, it's all campus is all the way.
yeah, so most of the water is coming from, as you can see. So if this ends up being like quite a lot of work, we can maybe form a working group. What do you guys think of that? Should we just pass this all on to the next EC agenda next month, or do you guys want to do a working group for this?
I would say until we have more information, we should hold off on the working group
Okay.
and talk about it.
Great,
So we know what I used doing.
Yeah,
okay,
that makes sense.
so, that's all I have. Anybody else have anything to add to the stormwater discussion? Okay. That is it for that. Our next item is discussing the heat island effects. Who raised that item?
I thought you did.
I don't know if I did. I think we talked about how VCOS has their own like urban heat working group.
Oh, actually, it's bigger than that. I know a little about that,
Okay.
because I'm on it.
Okay,
And next week is supposed to be the first meeting, and it's VCOS and people from Red Cross and well, people or person, I don't know how many. And the Monroe County Emergency Management and me and I'm not sure who else, but they're, I think they're really trying to add human health in there by getting the Red Cross and emergency management involved. So I think it's next Friday we have a meeting, so I could, possibly have more to tell you. And I've also been working on doing some research on heat island effect that we might be able to incorporate in the UDO. So, yeah.
I wonder, I think I've shown you once or twice that I'm on this rain gauge business that there are about 8 or 10 of them in the county. And the rain gauge itself costs about $50 or so, and then you install it on a post. And every day at a certain time, you're supposed to measure what's in it. There's a lot of zeros recently, and they want to know those too. But you can look and you can get a map that shows how variable the rain was at those 10 stations in the county and surrounding counties, actually. It's kind of interesting how really variable it is. But I wonder if there's anything similar to that for temperature. And it'd be interesting to see how variable the temperature is from one point to another in the city and county. Because this is higher in places where there aren't any trees, for example. And those the poor parts of town, and et cetera, which is very likely, I think. So
Right, and yeah, one of the things I'd like to do is have a map made of the temperature around town, because I mean, there's a lot of things to do for specific neighborhoods that I found from other towns. But I don't know what those specific neighborhoods are in Bloomington. And in Bloomington, it's not necessarily the lower income neighborhoods like it is in some other towns. I mean, right downtown would probably be our worst culprit. Now, Heather Reynolds had a class do that kind of thing. She was on the EC, it might have been 10 or 15 years ago. She had the students, and I went along with them. They would measure different places. And I had one of those devices, and I measured it in my front yard and my backyard, because my backyard is shaded and my front yard isn't. Of course, I don't remember the numbers now, but it's, it was like 10 degrees different between the sunny side of the house and the shady side of the house.
I followed the National Weather Service. And I looked at it every day for Bloomington, and it's actually based on the airport of the temperatures at the National Weather Service site for Bloomington, not at the airport, which is 2 miles out of town or whatever. And it's pretty much the same as what's in my briefly. So, they might differ by a degree or two, but not by 5 very often at all. That interests me. So.
Heather Reynolds still teaches an urban ecology class, that we could maybe still get them to go around and measure the temperature.
She may have done it again since then.
Yeah, she might already have the data.
Yeah, that'd be very interesting data to get our hands on. Also, perhaps Canopy Bloomington might be relevant to that discussion that BCOS is hosting. You're talking about how the temperature difference in your yard really depends on how much tree shade you have in certain areas. And I think that's part of urban, urban canopies purview is looking at like heat island effect and stuff too. So
Is it standard to measure on these thermometers, to measure the temperature in the sun or the shade, or is there a standard for that?
in the Monroe County, like citizens science.
Well, just everywhere, anyway. You want to compare temperatures, they don't all gotta be the same.
Yeah.
I don't know, Mike.
I've worked at regular weather stations, and there, the temperature was always done in the shade, I think, you didn't, not want your thermometer sitting there getting heat from the sun. It can make a big difference, so,
It's like part of the heat index.
yeah.
Okay, does anybody else have anything to add about the heat island effect? Or the ECOS working group discussion?
Will be, tree planting that's going on at the moment at various parts of town is direct toward that, I think, and designed to help cool off parts of town where less wealthy people live. And I think that's one of the goals of
Yeah,
these tree planting things that are going on.
great, well, thank you. Our next item is, just a quick update on the, pools draining in the city pools. The reason I brought that up on our agenda is because earlier this year, walking through Bryan Park, I noticed that the pools drain into the streamways. And this was before there's even water in it, they're power washing it, and it just looked like there was some contaminated effluent going like directly into the stream. It was, the water was milk colored. I sort of smelled to it, but apparently I was assured that it was, there's no chemicals or anything again, but the city has updated their rules regarding how they do that. And I think it's just good for us just to all know that the pools are released into the streamways, but they do neutralize the chlorine first.
Yes,
So,
I don't know how
yeah.
they do that, but that's
Yeah.
their protocol.
So apparently, utilities, you know, they know exactly what they're doing, and it's up to the state laws and everything, but
And this is when they initially drain them and when they rinse them before the season, or both.
I think it's supposed to be just when they drain them. I think when they are rinsing them, it's supposed to go into the, like storm drains or, you know, but maybe they just didn't do that when I saw it that time, but
But the storm drains go straight into creeks.
really,
Yeah, the
Okay.
storm drains go.
or no, it goes into the sewage, that's what I have to say.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so. That's my understanding of it, so,
They may adopt extreme measures at Bryan Park on Monday, and there is nothing terribly concerning. If
okay.
that reassures you.
I saw IDEM poking around in there last year, taking some type of measurements, and they're talking about chlorine, but apparently their reports were good too, since we haven't heard anything about that, but, I just wanted to put that on our radar, that's all. So our next item is, something else that I added to the agenda, which I touched base on, when we we're talking about the website work. I wanted to just put this on our radar quickly also. A lot of the reports that we have on our website are, historic or outdated. And I think it'd be really cool if the EC, over the next season or so, takes a look at these reports and see if they're worth updating, if that would have any value to us. And I don't know how we would go about that, but maybe we can have a meeting at some point and go through all of that stuff. And I can send out an email about that. Carrie, you and I and Matt talked about that at our website meeting as well. So do you have anything you'd like to add to that, or?
I think the one thing that stands out is making sure we know what things are we required to keep, or what things are like really big projects that it would be important for us to keep, even if they're outdated, or even if they are something that we're not going to revisit. And then kind of like we talked about, making sure that if there are things that are outdated that we think are really valuable to revisit and get those, you know, either numbers or whatever would be up to 2022, that we decide, is that a priority right now? Is that a priority in 5-year plan or a 6-month plan or whatever it would be? So that way we're not fighting off every single thing that sparks our interest, even though we know it's all, you know, can be really important.
Absolutely. I think one reason this is also important is just looking at the website, I think it's important when people visit our website that we see that they see that there's relevant information on it, not just mostly stuff from, over 5 years ago. So it'd be great if the EC website could be like a relevant resource, for people checking in about environmental stuff. So that's the direction I'm coming from. Does anybody else have anything to add to it?
I think it's something we used to do. We might want to make sure that new members have access to the report so they can get an idea of our history. And also new members used to get a handbook. EC handbook.
I sent that in.
Did you guys get that? Okay.
Yeah.
It's virtual now, probably.
Yes.
Virtual document, so.
I can print it if anybody wants it, but I just sent it via email.
Did you receive?
Yeah.
Handbook? Okay. So yeah, I'll just send an email out and then maybe people can just respond and see if they want to be part of that effort, or just the initial effort of just going through these documents and seeing what's perhaps relevant to update or not. So that is it for new business. Before commissioner announcements, we're going to circle back to reports. And let's just try and keep these brief. Our first one is from Tree Commission. Was that you?
Yeah,
Stephanie?
yeah. So the tree commission meets Monday is coming, and it's the second part of a two-part meeting where they review the approved tree list and the not approved tree list. And Mary Welch is taking the minutes on that. She's doing a really great job.
Great.
So there's a kind of a bump in the road with respect to my participation. Because I have been training as a docent for the Art Museum since 2019. And they just started meeting in person again. And their training schedule is right on top of the tree commission. So I asked Dave, you won't have to do anything except be there, and I don't even know if you have to be there. But I asked Dave to step in for this coming Monday. And Laurel Cornell, who's the chair of the tree commission, is going to actually ask them to move the meeting. It had traditionally been on Wednesdays, which is no conflict for anybody, but our previous urban forester, Aaron, wanted it moved to Mondays, and so we did that, but she's gone. And so if the tree commission agrees to put it back on Wednesdays, then there is not a problem.
Okay.
But if for some reason that doesn't work out, then we'll probably have to find somebody else from
Okay.
here.
Send me an email.
Yeah, just so I just thought I would tell everybody. And I guess we haven't met since we hired the new forester.
I've heard about that.
Yeah, well, I was part of the hiring committee, and there were 3 candidates interviewed. Tim Street is now director of parks and operations.
Oh, operations, yeah, it's not the director of parks.
Oh, okay, well,
Operations is a sub department.
Yeah, it's a division.
okay, my mistake. Anyway, I have to say, that he's a very lovely man, and I really enjoyed working with him. And he, so the interviews went very smoothly, and we ended up hiring somebody who's already employed by the city, long-term, Haskell Smith. And I think he's probably going to be very good. There was some question about, and I'm not sure how much I should say, is this being televised? Well, one of the things he did that made the hiring committee very impressed and happy was he produced a multi-page document that he had written in the 3 or 4 days between the first interview and the second interview, basically laying out his vision for urban forestry in Bloomington. And he addressed issues of climate change and other kinds of things.
Yeah, let's say that.
Yeah, so he, is not an academic. He doesn't have a lot of academic background. And he said, that he wanted us to see that he could do this, because writing is, and communicating is a big part of the urban forestry job. So I think everybody was just, he knocked our socks.
That's really cool.
And yeah, so I was glad that he was part of us.
What's the name again?
Haskell Smith
That's the-
and Haskell, Haskell. And he was part of Lee's group for years and years, along with Kevin Kurtz, and I think Kevin's gone now, right? I'm not sure, I think he is, and so Haskell was a senior member of the tree group, and anyway.
Seems very well qualified for the job.
He is really familiar with Bloomington. He understands the problems. He has, I think the biggest issues that face the urban forester is not trees, but people. Because the people in Bloomington really love their trees, and if something threatens them, they get really upset. And so there's a lot of email, a lot of phone calls, a lot of sort of fighting out that's required of the urban forester. And he already knows about all that.
That's really important.
It is,
Right.
it is, that's right.
That,
So,
so,
yeah,
And he's got he already has all the certifications.
he does too, yeah,
IHA or ISA?
yeah, yeah.
Awesome.
So, yeah, I think we might have, I think we might have a good one.
I have a quick question about the queue list. If you know this off the top of your head or not, is Japanese lilac on that?
I do not know.
Because it's a very commonly planted
It is.
landscaping tree
It is.
and ecologic, the ecological restoration firm in town just released a study showing that those are getting loose in Indianapolis parks from
All right,
the urban.
All right, I will ask.
Yes, that's all I wanted to add
Yeah,
about that.
Unfortunately, before two urban foresters ago, before he left, he planted quite a lot of those street trees.
They grow really well, so
And
that's
they're a
why.
good short tree up
Yeah.
under a house.
But apparently in Eagle Creek Park, they're in Holiday Park, they're like really going to seed and,
During like now repair.
yeah, maybe not quite as bad, but given time, it could be an issue in some areas.
Well, if I think everybody knows this, but 2022 is the peak power repair year, so.
Oh, yes, and I think it's gonna be the same in 2023, that MC Irish just voted yesterday to make that their
Oh, really?
nasty of the year again next year. Yeah, because we're really on an educational roll right now.
Well, this is not off topic, but not part of my report. My husband and I were touring through, I think it was North Carolina, and we were up in the mountains, and we stopped at a gift shop, and they had this T-shirt with the what's that vine, kudzu on it, and it said number 39 in the world's most unpopular plant series. And I have been kicking myself ever since that I didn't buy that T-shirt. And it occurs to me that one of our educational efforts could be, getting T-shirts with unpopular trees on them.
Oh, good idea.
Yeah, that's one way to get the word out.
Sure is.
Well, thank you for the update.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of really good news from the
Yeah.
tree commission.
Yeah, it's pretty much.
So,
That's what I heard.
next one is Monroe County Environmental Commission. We traded places out of that.
Yeah, I
correct?
can-
And then
yeah.
has anybody else?
I've taken it over.
Do you have
They
anything?
actually just today, they
Okay.
rescheduled their meeting for next Thursday.
Excellent.
So I should have updates then. They'd like me to talk about what I would like to happen within or between our committees and with me being a liaison.
Yeah.
Okay,
I was
great.
thinking I'll just say, we want to keep each other updated on our efforts and
Yeah.
basically collaborate where necessary and not recreate the wheel in another place.
And they have a whole bunch of money.
Oh,
Yes.
so we do want to.
Yes. They have
Okay.
a whole bunch of money. And I forget, so,
How much?
well, that environmental commission was started with a mandate to save energy for the county. And they put some initiatives in place, and every penny that gets saved goes into basically a bank account with their name on it. And they're going to be installing a bunch of electric charging stations
What was that?
around the county. At any rate, yeah,
they have a bunch of money, so I think
Okay.
we should like get real.
So I'll be
Yeah,
ready,
no
ready.
Talk to them about air quality monitoring,
Yeah.
green infrastructure for stormwater. That's very good
Oh,
information.
yeah.
Yeah, send them our best for sure, though. Yeah, we love to. Definitely,
Love to spend your money.
yeah. I mean, we are in the center of Monroe County. we're
Yeah,
the
that's what
largest,
we're hard,
you know, demographic, so. Thank you for that update, Megan. Our next update is from BCOS. We already have the update about the air quality or their urban heat working group. Whoever is giving the update on that.
And that would be a Don thing.
Don, so Don is not here. Maybe I'll see if he wants to, or if not, I will just send out their minutes from their last meeting for us to review, or if you just want to look at them yourselves. ERAC, Dave,
Yeah, I always use the excuse that we meet on every other.
but it's
month.
been 2
I
months,
don't
so
have to say anything, but actually they met in August 10th. And we didn't have an August meeting, so I will tell you about the August meeting. The first thing on their agenda was the bicentennial bond tree planting updates. They have planted 80 trees. I think they're going to be planting in 3 different areas in the city. They planted 80 trees so far, and they're due to put in 220 this fall when the second round is coming up. It was noticed that they need a new contract, and we're going to be replacing 9 big gallery repairs on the Beeline Trail. The second thing on the menu was Winslow Woods. That's where they actually met. I was at the time at my wife's farm down in Kentucky on Zoom, and they were sort of all over, and it was hard to keep track of who was talking and who wasn't. So I went sort of halfway through the meeting and quit. But anyway, B3 was the Griffey Lake project celebration and ribbon cutting event that happened. I guess I did, at least some of you, I gave the date that was going to happen. I didn't go, but anyway, that's happened already. They have a new fishing pier there. There's a new trail, and the lake itself is in good shape. B4, they tabled that until later. That's the goat farm being changed to the Rogers Family Park. And there's quite a bit of building that's going to go on there. Under new business, the education updates, there are lots of those coming up. I didn't get them all. Bug Fest will be October 1st. And this was the 19th year that school kids went to Leonard Spring. Lower Cascades, they'll be celebrating the 101st year for the park on September 18th. So that's 4 days from now, from 1 to 4, if you want to go to Lower Cascades. And I think that's where I quit because I was having trouble keeping up with what was going on. And I can send you once the minutes come out. In another month after.
I think I saw something a few days ago that Cascades was built as from federal funding as part of the New Deal a long time ago. That's just really interesting.
WPA.
Yeah. So interesting tidbit. Thank you, Dave. That is it for URAC. The Metropolitan Planning Organization Citizens Advisory Council, that's me. The last time they met was in August, and in that meeting, they approved June's minutes. So there's not very much to report from there. The biggest thing that they have that pertains to Bloomington especially is that they'll be doing they'll be adding a multi-use path to High Street, apparently, or updating the path that's there. And looks like they're just adding some like cameras to some of their rural transit vehicles. So that is it for that group. The next one is Friends of Lake Monroe. Are they meeting yet?
Nothing
Still?
happening at the moment that I know of.
Okay. Did you say, they have a new director, the same director still?
Well, Maggie Sullivan is still involved somehow, but there's a new director of some sort as well.
Okay.
I think that was a different organization. Is it basically the same thing?
I think so. That was my understanding.
Which one?
But they put in for a new grant, if that comes through, which I'm not sure whether it still needs to come through or already has. I'll probably be in the steering committee for that.
Excellent.
And the task of the new program is to use what they learned from the last 2 years of research about what the problem and then try to figure out how to fix it.
And the new person, is that Michelle Cohen?
I don't remember the name.
Okay. And last but not least, MC Iris.
I can give that a
Yeah,
date.
Dawn's not here.
Dawn's
so-
not here. Last Saturday, they had their second annual, native plant sale as their main fundraiser, and it was just a roaring success. They had one for the first time last year, and it was very successful, but there was a lot they learned about organization. This time it ran totally smoothly, considering how many people. It was at Switchyard Park in the maintenance building, and it was just jam-packed with plants. And they almost all sold, and what didn't sell went to the Parks Department. They were really, really instrumental in helping the whole thing happen.
It's their facility, right?
It was their
Yeah.
facility, yeah, but, they don't have the money tallied or anything like that yet, but, it was a very successful, very organized, and very well attended. And Scott was in.
Get some plants. What do you
Yeah,
got?
we got to replace the flowering bed with the dogwood.
Big news. That's every tree matters.
That's right, and so they cut their cow repair down and they got a free tree.
Mhm.
And then there were trees for sale there too, but they got their choice of a tree for free. And as of yesterday, that's gonna happen again this next year, since we're on such a good roll with cow repairs.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Back to back, reduce one invasive species.
Yeah, because they really, there's been a really good job, not just in CIRS, but around a lot of places, talking about cow repairs. So while we're on this roll, they want to keep that going.
Seems like it's gaining a lot of traction this
Yeah.
year with organizations and cities sort of jumping into that.
Right. That's why they don't want to drop it now and
Yeah.
change to something else.
So you guys finalized that yesterday's meeting?
Yes,
That's great. And MC Iris is also sending out an invite for the annual dinner also.
yes, they had their annual dinner. And
I
it's,
forget.
yeah, it's October something.
13th.
Something team.
It's on their website.
Yeah, so I guess that's all.
Cool. Thank you for the updates. That is it for reports. Does anybody have a commissioner announcement?
I have a question.
Start with a
Are we-
question and then.
Are we planning to table at Bug Fest? It snuck up on us.
Yeah, that was one of the things I was going to mention. We told them that we would.
Okay.
Didn't. So we need to get a working group together real quick and come up with tabling stuff.
Actually, take the lead.
Okay,
That I was actually,
Great.
I had said I'd take the lead and then we thought, oh no, we never put in saying that we have a table. Now I can do that.
yeah, no, yeah, we did, and we have a lot of paper brochures and fact sheets and stuff like that, but as Sam mentioned earlier, they're not new. And some of those don't really particularly go out of date, but they need to all be looked at. And just having a bunch of paper brochures is probably not a great way to get somebody's attention. So we need to come up with some really creative way to get the children's attention.
I was thinking of making some big posters of like, here are some insects that native plants might bring to your yard that are beneficial. And I definitely have a lot of insect specimens available that are cleaned. That
Should bring
are super
those.
fun for like people to handle, but they're cool to see.
Right.
For that.
Yeah, that's a really good idea because, you know, it's kind of new science to the general public, how insects and plants cohabitate.
When is that then? October 1st.
A lot of those associations are species specific also. So a lot of insects won't survive without a certain
Right.
species existing. So you also have some information about taxonomical inventories from Bloomington or Bryan Park, Goat Park.
Goat Farm Park, yes, and I actually finally got those shared to the city about a week ago, and then asked, can we send this out and put it in newsletters and things, but definitely can pull some of my data of what kind of cool insects can we find in native plants from that
That'd be really cool.
data set.
Yeah, I like that idea.
So I'll plan on sending an email tomorrow to gather anyone else who's interested in participating.
Thank you, Megan. Can you remind us when Bug Fest is again?
October 1st.
Okay,
It's,
coming up quick.
yes.
Will there be a table provided for us there where we can just put stuff on like last at a,
I think they
Save
provide a table and a chair or two,
okay,
and we can borrow a canopy thing from the Bikehead Commission. I've already checked on that.
it's outdoors then.
Yes,
So, okay, that's exciting if we can do that, so. Then we'll have to figure out transportation for that and getting it,
right,
so,
right.
at another time, so. Thank you for that about Bug Fest. You had your hand raised,
Yeah, two things about invasives. My wife has a little farm just outside of Frankfort in Kentucky. And we've been girdling calorie pears there. With the idea that when they die off, then the stems will still be up for animals to make people. So there's no need to cut them down. Just kill them, and then they can't reproduce. And the other invasive, I've heard for the first time this year about bamboo being invasive in Bloomington. And I've discovered one right out in front of, at the boundary of our property, with the neighbor's property, just under a street line. Big time. With stems about this big around and this long. So I dug it out and I hope I got it all, but I don't know. I'll watch for it for here for next year.
Do they have it? Did it come from your neighbor's yard?
I doubt it. I have no idea where it came from.
Huh.
Birds brought it, animals brought it, squirrels. I don't know.
Actually, they only bloom, this is a fun fact I learned this week.
Huh?
They only bloom every 40 to 120 years.
Oh, really good.
Because I didn't know, everybody's, talks about them, but nobody ever talks about them blooming. So I started doing a little research on that. And yeah, they bloom very rarely, but when they do, like all of one particular species, all of the world will bloom. And they drop their seeds and then they die. And the different species do it at different times.
I didn't see any seeds on what I dug out, but
Right, you probably wouldn't have.
We have a neighbor that had a solid yard of bamboo, and can't even see the house. And somebody else bought the house and cut it all down. And a few months later, it was 6 feet high.
Yeah.
But I have not seen it spread anywhere. It stayed like really flat.
Wow, that's amazing.
might be a different species.
Yeah, they're spreading.
so the
Yeah.
golden bamboo that the city added to the.
Yeah, it's gold, and that's just a common running bamboo, really all the running bamboos
Yeah,
that will grow here. I mean, there's a lot of bamboo that won't grow here.
I have a note about bamboo. There is a native one that grows in the Ohio River Valley. It's called, like a native cane, but it's in the bamboo genus. It looks really similar to it. It grows in big patches like that. It's really beautiful. You wouldn't think it grows in Indiana. So,
Yeah.
I also have just a quick announcement too. We've been doing weed wrangles at Bryan Park under the Adopt a Green Space program that we're doing the counter component program too.
The wet space.
Yeah, Jillian Field, she's the city's Adopt a Green Space volunteer coordinator. She also works with MC Iris. I've been working with her. We've been going out to Bryan Park almost 2 days a week, every week, and we're making some massive headway. They're clearing invasive. So the city plans on revegetating with some shrubs, and they have some native plant seeds scattered too. And we'll probably do that this fall. So just wanted to share that. So,
Thank you for your service.
yeah, it was really fun. Come out. If you want, we'll send some emails out. You guys, if you want to join. Any other commissioner announcements from anybody?
This is not directly related to the environmental commission, but is everybody aware that we now have a new COVID booster?
Yep.
I need to do that.
Well, what? The new COVID booster?
Omicron specific.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Uh,
But it's a month out.
yeah, but it just came here like a week ago.
At CVS,
Yeah,
Yeah.
it takes a while. I mean, you can't get,
But a word on that, if anybody tried to make a register for, are
Yes.
you able to do it?
yes,
But they're scheduling a month out. You said?
yeah.
Everybody's kind of.
Well, we tried to do it by
yes.
going through the registration process and then picking a location. It didn't work.
No,
So what you have to do is you get the locator map, you click on the site you want, and there's a link to register for that site. That's the way it works.
oh, we ended up, we're gonna get ours at the one downtown on Kirkwood. Because once you get into the system, they'll, you know, their availability at max.
My understanding is that you're eligible for it if your last shot was 2 months or more in the past. So, this meeting is now adjourned.
Oh, wait,
Okay, go ahead, Linda.
Just want to remind you once again, I sent that piece of paper around, but next Friday, or not next Friday, but September 30th, which is a Friday at 5:30 at the Cascades Golf Course Clubhouse is the Boards and Commission Appreciation Dinner. And everybody's invited, encouraged to go.
Now, the clubhouse, is that like at the top of the hill before you get down?
Yes,
Okay.
yes,
Upper Cascade.
Upper Cascades, yeah, right before you fall off the edge of the hill. So I hope to see everybody there.
Awesome.
Oh, wait, that reminds
One
me.
more.
I was supposed to take a picture of you.
We'll adjourn first and then picture. So,
Yeah, for that.